Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and we are joined once again by derivatives and blockchain expert, the one and only Stephen Kendal from Manchester, UK. Thanks for joining us again, sir.
Hi, Josh. Great to be back on the show. It really is. Massive fan of yours, Josh.
Well, I'm a massive fan of yours because the work that you're doing, especially on steemit.com, is just incredible, and we will get into Steemit soon. But first, I wanted to ask, with the dip and gradual recovery in the crypto markets, can you go into what you think led to the recent Bitcoin correction and where you see it going in the near future?
Fake news. What caused a correction, Josh, was a statement that was put out by Jamie Dimon combined with fake news about China. Now, obviously, when those two news pieces came out, there was a shock. It was a shock to the trend. Now, really, the trend, and I'm saying this, and I'll say this all the way to $1 million plus. The trend is to the upside. It got triggered around the $430. It then hit the $5,000. It pulled back after the fake news about China and Bitcoin being a fraud, pulled it down to 2,900. And now I think we're trading about 4.4. So with these pullbacks are inevitable. It's not going to go from 0 to 1 million in a straight vertical line. You're going to get these peaks, these pullbacks, these peaks, these higher highs, higher lows, and as these higher highs and higher lows get trending, then people will realize. I mean, at the moment we're at 4,400. What's going to happen when we hit 5,100? Because that'll be another all-time high. So, as far as I'm concerned, it was inevitable. And really, the speed that it's returned, that's what you've got to look at. That's what my charting package looks at. It's the speed of the recovery.
Absolutely. And I find it interesting that, no matter what these bankers try to do to try and bring the price down, that scarcity and the demand is always there. And you see people like, for example, Mark Cuban claiming that, Bitcoin is a fraud, it's a bubble, and then it goes down a little bit. And then you see a few weeks later, he's investing in ICOs. I mean, Jamie Dimon is another example, claiming it's all a fraud. And then you see that he's actually involved in the market as well. And it's funny to watch this repeat over and over again. And then you still have a few holdbacks, like people like Peter Schiff, who falsely claim, and with a huge misunderstanding of the definition of the word fiat, that Bitcoin is fiat. And, it just keeps coming back. There's nothing wrong with gold and silver. That's what a lot of people are divided on. Online, people will say, well, I want my gold. Well, no, I don't want gold. I want Bitcoin. Why not, diversify and have a bit of both? I mean, Bitcoin largely is in a way designed to mimic gold in a lot of ways, considering the scarcity and the demand that will keep bringing people back. People from the gold market say, well, most people don't spend their Bitcoin quite yet. Well, most people don't spend their gold quite yet neither, and it's growing, but when the time comes, the time will come. But with that said, what are your thoughts on the coming hard forks and how it may affect Bitcoin? Because I've heard a lot about hard forks coming in the next few months, and obviously, I personally think, the classic Bitcoin is going to take the lead. It always will. But of course, people want to, compete and bring in their own version. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, we've got a long way to go, and you're going to get hard forks. The fundamental 21 million cap Bitcoin coins. That is what everybody has to, keep focusing in on, and until that changes, you're going to get hard forks along the way. And really, you've got to balance between hard forks on Bitcoin and also liquidity coming into the cryptocurrency market. I think we're around about the 145 billion. And again, I can't stress this enough. This is pocket change. We'll look back in 2021, in 4 years' time, and we'll think, why didn't we see it? I mean, the ones who know what's going on know exactly where to put the money, and really the cryptocurrency market at 145 billion. We've not even started. We have not even started. So these hard forks, Josh, you will get these hard forks as the currency matures and develops. So as far as I'm concerned, Bitcoin Classic, that's the one to watch.
Absolutely. And I wanted to go into this recent story that a lot of people have been talking about. And I was wondering, what do you think of the IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde noting that we may be seeing the end of banking and the rise of cryptocurrency?
Absolutely. I mean, bizarrely, Josh, I mean, obviously, you know the story, yeah? When I was invited onto the Max Kaiser show in January of 2016, this is exactly the way that it's playing out. At the end of the day, you've got two completely different systems. You've got a centralized fiat system measured against a decentralized cryptography. Well, when you put those two together, you can see which one's going to win. The decentralized cryptography will win in the end. It will win. There's no fight in it. I put a tweet out. In fact, I think it was last week. And I said in the tweet, there's not one government or central bank big enough to challenge blockchain and cryptography. So, of course, the fact that Christine Lagarde and the IMF have come out with this and said, cryptography is here to stay. We've talked about, I know I follow all your videos and all your blogs, Josh. I know that you're really up to speed with the SDRs. You and John, everything that you're putting out about, the story between the SDRs and the IMF, when you have a bank with a bad debt that rolls it up to a central bank, that's fine. But when you have a central bank that has a bad debt and rolls it up to the IMF, well, okay, that's fine. But who does the IMF roll up to? That's the problem.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, the special drawing rights, obviously, there's a bit of concern that people like Christine Lagarde is going to kind of confuse definitions with cryptocurrency and, of course, the very opposite centrally planned cashless system. Places like Russia are looking to put ETFs on Bitcoin, and obviously we've seen what that has done to gold. We've seen what that's done to silver, and it's not going to be a permanent fix. Obviously, when the banking system comes down, which it will, so will that problem. But in the short term, it's kind of worrying to see, the central bank in Russia trying to push for ETFs on Bitcoin. I mean, how many times do we have to go through this?
When the story came out that they were going to put Bitcoin onto an ETF, I put a video out at the time, and I thought, this is crazy, because it actually it's trying to put a round peg into a square hole. It will not fit, because the whole idea of a decentralized distributed ledger, the blockchain, is that it's a complete mirror image to what the centralized ETFs derivatives market is all about. So if you have an ETF that says, I'm going to give you a piece of paper and I'm going to sell Bitcoin, I don't own it, but I'm promising you that I will buy it back down the line. Well, you could sell a Bitcoin for $1. You could promise to sell me a Bitcoin for $1. You don't own it, but it's not worth anything. What's it worth? It's worth nothing. It's a piece of paper. It's a promise. It's a promise that you believe that it's going to do this. Well, you try and match that up with a decentralized blockchain on the distributed ledger, which is a consensus. The blockchain and ETFs, I think it's a joke. I mean, I've been saying this from day one. You cannot put a cryptography onto a ETF. You just can't do it. So all these stories that are coming out, I find them quite amusing, to be quite honest with you, because at the end of the day, blockchain and cryptography is blockchain and cryptography. Yeah. ETFs, forget it. That's the garbage stuff.
Well, you made a good point by mentioning the square peg and the circular hole, because it kind of reminds me of that, aged, that antiquated test for mental illness. You try to put the right shape into the right shape with the pegs, and they are forcing that square peg into the circle, and they're showing themselves to be far below the capacity that they should be at. But I mean, with that said, we've been talking about Steemit for quite some time, and I'm really excited about Steemit. I have been since the beginning, and we've seen a bit of a pullback from at least what I've expected. Now you pinpointed the rally and the cap last time around very well, months ahead of time, and got to give you a lot of credit for that. But we've both been big fans of Steemit. Myself, D2. Where do you see Steem going by the end of the year, and do you stick by your earlier prediction?
Yes, absolutely. I put a prediction out in May that Steam would hit a $2 price tag in it, and it hit it to the cent. It obviously has pulled back, and I think it pulled back to about 90 cents. There was some, obviously, we'll be talking about it a little bit later, but there was some amazing news last week regarding the leveraging of the Steam blockchain with smart media tokens. This is massive news. This is probably the biggest news that I've heard about Steam and Steemit since since you introduced me to the platform in August last year. Now, at the time, Steam was around the $1, $2, which was right on the 200-day moving average. So from a technical point of view, from a pure technical point of view, that was a very bullish position. On the day of the news, within 48 hours of the news being released, it went up to $1.62. Now there's actually a band. It's now trading in a band between about the 96 cents and $1.62. So effectively, it's now range bound. So it's range bound from the lows of 7 cents up to the $2.80, and now we're in this range band. And really, to be quite honest with you, once it punches through the $1.62 in a rising price, this will be on its way to $4.70.
Absolutely. And just today we got news that Steemit has reached 400,000 users. And yeah. I mean, that's up from 250,000, a couple months ago? I mean, it's growing. And obviously, I've gone over this a lot of time with people on my channel, but when we see, social medias like Facebook forcing people away by censoring them, getting flagged as hate speech I've been getting flagged on YouTube as hate speech for talking about pensions. And, the ADL came in and just started flagging almost everyone's videos as hate speech. And it's getting to the point where you can't monetize videos properly anymore. And it's starting to look very antiquated, the notion of using YouTube, using Facebook, using Twitter, because we have this new alternative twinned with still in its infancy, DTube. DTube still has a lot of bugs. It still has to work out a lot of things, but it's proving itself to be that which we've been waiting for so long. So Steemit is helping people make money off their posts in Steam, and if you really want to, you could trade it in for Bitcoin, etc. The market is huge. It's incredible. And then we have DTube, which utilizes Steemit, and you are able to sign in with your Steemit, post videos, and make money off of it as well. And it's a very exciting time because we see some, hesitance from a lot of people because it's so new to so many. It's kind of like convincing someone to use a telephone instead of writing a telegraph, and it's something that it's not something that people are used to. It's the same thing as, switching from a horse and buggy to a car. It's an absolutely entirely new type of system and platform that no one has ever really dipped their feet in. But what we're watching with Steemit is incredible to me because we are seeing an influx of a lot of people, not as fast as I would have thought it would be, but it's still... Over the last few months, it's really starting to build up. I'm always going to the most newest posts in the introduce yourself things, trying to encourage new users to keep using it and upvoting their posts. And I think that this truly shows a sign of being the future of social media and video sharing. So I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. You just did a road trip with Steemit and brought it to quite a few places. You've been doing an incredible job getting the word out on the street. Can you go into where you think this is going in the near future and what you've been up to promoting it?
Yeah, absolutely. The news that came out last week, Josh, from Ned Scott, regarding the proposal to issue smart media tokens is going to completely revolutionize social media. And when people understand, I put out a video blog the day after the news came out, and the way that I explained it, a white paper has been issued, and it's very complicated. I think it's 61 or 63 pages long, and it's very complicated. So of course, what I believe, my role is to try and take a very complicated solution or proposal and break it down and explain it in a very, very, very simple way. And the blog that I put up, the video that I put up, has had quite a lot of comments. And basically what's going to happen, Josh, over really the next decade is that social media sites are split into two categories. You've got the mainstream stuff, which is the Facebook and the Twitter and the Instagram, which is great. That is the mainstream social media site. But the bit that people never even consider are the comments that people post onto other websites. So you might have a news website. A classic one, a very classic one, is Zero Hedge. I'm a big fan of what Zero Hedge does. I follow them on Twitter. They write some amazing articles. Well, of course, if you take Zero Hedge on its own, even today, I've suggested, and I contacted Zero Hedge on Twitter, and I said, have you thought of a Zero Hedge coin? And the way it would work is you've got Steemit, which obviously, as we all know, sits on the Steem blockchain, and is really just a tiny part of the overall potential for the blockchain. And then if you look at something like Zero Hedge, what they can do is they can issue via the protocol that Ned has proposed their own coin. So effectively, what you'll have is a Zero Hedge coin. Now, this coin would be on the Steem blockchain. So at the moment, like you say, we've got 400,000 unique Steemit users, all blogging, all commenting, all creating content on the Steemit side. But then you're going to have multiple websites and multiple platforms. And let's just take Zero Hedge as an instance. They might have, say, 1 million subscribers or 1 million users who are all commented. That's a great comment. Thanks for the, for the information. I like this. I don't like this. There's some flaws in the reporting. But whatever those comments are will create their own value. So, of course, what you'll have, and I think it's going to take, I think people are going to be shocked how fast it's going to take. But I think we're going to have a very slow uptake, and then all of a sudden it'll snap in around about 2 to 3 years' time. And then once you get multiple websites like Zero Hedge all having their own coins, then what's going to happen? People are going to be then encouraged to actually participate in commenting on these websites, because any of these financial websites, the Observer or Financial Times or Zero Hedge or any of these financial websites, people are not incentivized to create valued comments because they get nothing back for it. Can you imagine a situation when all of a sudden people think, well, hang on a minute, if I put the effort into responding to an article and put valued content within the comment section, you're talking a completely different world, because this is I'm talking multi-billion-dollar untapped market, a multi-billion untapped market where people will suddenly say, you know what, put all your photographs on Facebook and put all your, your stuff on Facebook. What's it worth? Nothing. It might be worth something for the shareholders to scrape and sell the data, but the real money, the real content is going to be rewarded in smart media tokens. And really, Josh, you probably might have thought about it, you might not have thought about it, but have you thought of a WAM coin?
I've actually thought of it many times. I'm not smart enough to pull it off, so I need some help doing it. But yes, I've absolutely thought of it. And I mean, your point with zero hedge is incredibly brilliant, because on top of that, I mean, I love zero hedge. We love it here at WAM. They've featured us many times, and we really appreciate it. One thing I've noticed with zero hedge in recent days is, the ads popping up on the screen in the middle of a post and a video starts playing. And I mean, that does take away from a post a lot, and they don't need to do that. If they did exactly as you mentioned, they could prosper hugely from this and be on the ground floor of something that's massive. Because, I mean, despite the fact we've been seeing cryptography take off since 2009, I mean, we are still on the ground floor.
Absolutely. And Josh, if I was given the option to buy some zero hedge coins tomorrow, I'd buy them. I'd buy them because I believe in the message that these guys are putting across. And the same with a WAM coin. If you decided to create a WAM coin, I'd buy it. Why? Because I believe that the content that you're creating, and really, at your age, and you've got the whole of your career ahead of you. I mean, to get on board and to be one of the first pioneers in creating a WAM coin, at the end of the day, you can create it very, very easily, or when it eventually comes live, you'll be able to create it very, very easily, and just let your followers decide what it's worth. I mean, at the end of the day, if it has value, if your work has value, lock it in. And I'm going to be the first, I'll be the first to buy a WAM coin and a zero hedge coin. I'm sure there'll be many, many others once people realize its potential. But these tokens, what Ned has come up with, I've always said that, these guys, they're at the cutting edge of technology and the cutting edge of social media, geniuses. I mean, these guys are the best of the best. And to leverage the STEEM blockchain, we've got, like you say, we've got 400,000 users that have now battle proven the website. We can now bolt on all these multiple websites, and a zero hedge comes along and bolts on 1 million of their subscribers, all using the zero hedge coin, which stitches back to the STEEM blockchain.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden, my $4.70. I mean, we're not talking. I mean, at $4.70, I think it's about 1.2 billion. Well, if all of a sudden you've got, I don't know, let's say if you had 1,000 zero hedges, all with 1 million subscribers, all buying into their coins, and all of them creating valuable content, it won't be 1.2 billion, and that I can assure you that.
It's an incredible idea, and I'm thinking in a few years from now we'll look back at this video and be like, hey, he was onto something. And I think that we are going to see a massive change of the guard here, because when you look back at how the social media sites replaced mainstream media on television. So people were sick of mainstream media. They wanted alternative views of what's going on in the world. So they went to the internet, and we saw Facebook rise out of that, YouTube especially. And now YouTube and Facebook and all these sites are kind of the past, and we're moving into the future. And now they're mainstream, and we're looking at these alternatives. And the difference is that we're looking at something that's decentralized, something that we don't have to worry about being censored. We don't have to worry about being controlled by it, and we don't have to worry about it being like some massive surveillance operation by the government. Whereas you mentioned, there isn't much to gain out of a Facebook photo, other than perhaps, the company selling the information to the Chinese government, which they've done in the past. So, I mean, this is why there's such a huge difference. People need to understand how great cryptocurrencies are. Not all of them. There's a few altcoins that I would certainly stay away from, but I mean, I look at, for example, the cap on the overall circulation. I don't like the altcoins that they make 50 billion of them, because what's the point of cryptocurrency if they're doing what the Fed does with it, But
Yeah.
when I look at cryptocurrencies, I love Bitcoin, I love Dash because Dash has a very low circulation cap. I love I love Steam because it's connected to this massive innovation and this incredible platform that I'm gonna be on for many years to come, I'm sure, and it's due to spike in the near future. But what for you, Stephen? What do you think? Actually, before I get into the other altcoins, I wanted to actually mention what I was mentioning before. Can you go into your travels and trying to get the word of Steam It out, promoting it?
Yeah, absolutely. When I set out around about April of this year, I wanted to take Steam It into the market. Now, I do believe that there's two routes to market. We either go down the digital route, which is the digital marketing, or we actually do the old school approach, and that is get out on the street, talk to people, give them a flyer, give them a business card, explain to them what it's all about. So, of course, I decided that I would take the old school approach to get instant feedback. I can spend a day in a university campus talking to, say, 200 students, and at the end of that day, the information that I can gather from 200 students is phenomenal, because it gives me a better understanding as to what their perception is. And I'm getting a lot of people who are angry with the system, not angry with the Steam It system, angry with the system that they've inherited. So, you've got a 21-year-old who is just starting his education, or his higher education, and he's fed up, or they're fed up of the garbage reporting and the fake news. And really, people are underestimating how fed up people have become over the last 4 to 7 years regarding the rubbish that is being put out onto social media platforms. So, of course, when I've been talking to people, I've been basically saying this is a social media platform where the content creators own the platform. Each and every content creator or blogger actually has a say in what's going on. And of course, when you put that out, for me, I've learned, Josh, over the last 6 months marketing it on the street, that I used to say, this is a blogging site where you can earn. Well, now I've actually decided that it's a lifestyle. You have to tell people this is a lifestyle social media site. In other words, it's a site that allows you to be completely free and open. The actual reward is a bonus. And what people love about Steam It is the fact that, they can put up whatever they want, and they are then left to, or it is then left to the community to actually decide what it's worth. So, of course, there's a lot of people now are really getting on board with this, but it is taking time. We set out in April time, going around a few of the student unions around the country. And then on the 18th of September, we embarked on a university tour, which has been headed up by Matt at Starkers. And these guys are doing an amazing job. Absolutely amazing job. I think we've covered now it's either 18 or 19 universities. And there's been a total of, I think it's about 14, 16 guys. An amazing journey. Absolutely. And the information that we've got back, Josh, phenomenal. I mean, scary that a lot of people have never heard of Steam It. That is the scary bit. But it just goes to show we're right at the beginning. So, this university tour and all the other marketing strategies that we're doing in the UK is really giving us a lot of information, a lot of data about what the market is telling us. And on the 20th of October, we've been invited down to the London Investor Show down in London, and we're going to do a presentation And the presentation is to a room of about 100 investors. And the delegates are very interested to hear what we've got to say. And basically, we're going to talk about STEEM being an investment more so than a blogging site. So, of course, we're going to explain to them STEEM it. That obviously will be the start of the presentation. Then the second part of the presentation will be the actual ecosystem of STEEM. And then the third part of the presentation is the investment case, because I strongly believe that if you are serious about investing, and I mean serious about investing, you really want to take a long, hard look at these blockchain projects that are going to deliver value down the line. So we're really excited. There's 5 guys. I've got Starkers and an architect, Ashley Pete and Thomas George. They're all coming down with me to London. So the 5 of us are going to put this presentation on, and I'm very, very excited about it, Josh. Very excited.
Absolutely. And I mean, the revolution won't be televised. However, it will be steamed, and we are watching that take place right in front of us. You mentioned fake news. I mean, you're battling between watching one station that doesn't tell the truth about a person, and then the other station that's supposed to be opposition not telling the truth about a person. A good example is, Donald Trump and stuff. You see CNN making up stories about him, and then you see Fox News covering for things that he's actually done wrong. I mean, there's no actual flexibility in there, and you go to a place like Steemit, and people of all views, like, this isn't just a bunch of crypto anarchists or libertarians. This is I've gone on all the boards on Steemit, and I'm looking at people from every background you can think of, and they're conversing, and their posts are the demand that they are the product. I mean, they provide something that has value, and elsewhere you put it on Reddit, and you just get trolls writing stuff to you and then taking off behind a computer screen. On Steemit, you treat people unfairly and call names, and you might not actually get very far on the platform, because it's about the demand of the individual, and you have to speak to people as you would speak to them in person. So that's another great upside to it. But moving on from that, Stephen, because I've seen a lot of your articles lately on Steemit. You've done a lot on demapping different cryptocurrencies. I've seen a bunch that I've never heard of before, and I wanted to get your perspective. What altcoin, other than Steem or something like Dash or something like that, what altcoin has the best potential that people aren't really looking at right now?
Right. Well, I mean, I've got to be very careful, Josh. I get a lot of people asking me for investment advice, and I've got to be very, very careful when it comes to my DMA mapping tool. It's a technical analysis tool that has been proven over the last 7 years, and it's a trending tool that I've bolted onto the cryptocurrency market. And effectively, it scans high volume changes or high volume purchases, and then maps continually scans across trends. And I've got to be very careful as to which ones I pick out. All I can say is, when I put out a bullish signal, then it's not me saying it's a bullish signal. It's the package. It's the trend that's saying it's a bullish signal. And somebody, in fact, I think it was either today or late last night, somebody actually realised that there was a time around about April, May of this year when the bulk of the altcoins all simultaneously triggered buy signals, and that's true. That there was a period of about 8 weeks, April, maybe towards the end of March, certainly through April and May. But there was a period where a lot of these triggered, and we've seen some phenomenal growths. Cloak coin was a classic one. I mean, I can pick out Dash or Bitcoin. I can pick out any particular coin, but I've got to be very careful that I don't pick out a particular investment. So
Absolutely. Well, what do you
all,
think?
all I would say, Josh, is that readers and people who are watching this is just follow them. Just follow the ones that I'm putting out and let them decide for themselves.
Well, which altcoin do you feel is most similar to Bitcoin? Because there are a lot of altcoins out there. There's a lot of nonsense altcoins out there that, yeah, they could be temporarily good for little investment, but you look at some of them in the top 50 and, there's 6 billion created and it's going to go up to 100 billion in this amount of time. And that's the kind of stuff that I personally, in my opinion, I like to stay away from. But there's a lot of coins out there that seem to have small circulations, and I'm not an expert on any of this, and I certainly don't claim I am, but when I look at cryptocurrency, I like to stick to something that has a small circulation in the long term, so it actually creates that scarcity that is a reason why one of the reasons why Bitcoin and Dash are doing so well, and stuff like, gold and silver are doing so well. So what do you think is maybe the closest or most similar to Bitcoin?
Okay, the application. I'd rather home in on the application, and for me, a crypto coin that has a meaningful application are the ones that are going to do well. And when I say meaningful application, Josh, I'm talking of something like Steam. Really, you have to look at what the application is. Whether it's a smart contract or a monetary transfer. If there's a application that has growth in itself, then that's where the value is going to be created. And really, if you look at the trend, or if you look at the chart, and scarily, when you overlay the Steam chart onto the Bitcoin chart, you'll suddenly realize what I'm actually trying to get across. And really, I would strongly suggest, and this isn't an investment advice, but I would strongly suggest that people have a really good look at Steam. And like I say, I've got to be very careful. I can only put a chart in front of people and say that's going up or that's going down. That's all I can do. But certainly, when you look at the trend that is forming in the Steam chart and overlay that, it's basically mirroring what happened to Bitcoin. So
Absolutely, and I totally understand that. I mean, I've just been getting this question a lot from people, and I usually just say, well, look, I'm not going to take a risk by telling you which one you should get into, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that looks good and a lot that doesn't look so good, but I'm not going to, tell people, hey, you should put $1 million into that, and then have them come back to me a year later and say, hey, I lost 90% of what I just put in that. But there's definitely a huge future in cryptocurrency. There's definitely more cryptocurrencies that are going to be created in the next few years. I'm sure that we haven't heard of yet that are going to become big, and the market's constantly being innovated, and I think that it's just plain and simple. It's a future, and that's not to say I don't think people should get into gold and silver, because I love gold and silver. I love the diversification. I've loved gold and silver since I was about 10 years old, and I'm not giving that up anytime soon. But obviously, things like Bitcoin, personally for me, Dash and Steam, I mean, the application that you mentioned is also very important. You have a use for this cryptocurrency, and that use is so revolutionary that you have to take a second look at it. So again, I really appreciate all the insight that you have on these subjects. Stephen, can you get some people to let our viewers know who haven't yet seen your work where they can go to find it?
Okay, well, everything obviously is on Steemit, so it's steemit.com/@Stephen Kendal, Stephen with a PH, Kendal, Kendal. And also, I've got a presence on Twitter. It's at Stephen P. Kendal on Twitter. But obviously, what I'm trying to do is encourage more people to follow me on Steemit. And really, I've said it all along that I'm kind of now tailoring my blog to become my personal website. So if anybody wants to contact me, you can contact me on steemit.com, Stephen Kendal, and if you're not already, join and send us a comment.
Absolutely, and just mentioning using Steemit, using your blog as your personal website, a lot of people are doing that. I wanted to mention there's some people on YouTube that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers and just said farewell to YouTube entirely and moved completely to Steemit and DTube. There is a revolution happening in internet usership, cryptocurrency. It's booming and it's still on the ground floor, so no, you're not too late. And one last thing before we go, I wanted to get people to also check out Stephen's appearance on the Max Kaiser show from a while ago, because it's brilliant. He uses a derivatives wrecking ball. I can never get enough of it. It's incredibly entertaining and very educational. So if you haven't seen that already, I really suggested you do. I was talking to Max Kaiser a few months ago, and he was saying, yeah, that was incredibly entertaining, incredibly brilliant how you put that together, and he was saying it's never going to leave my memory because it's just such a good example of what we're facing with derivatives and this insane market that's just completely manipulated based in debt, and something that's due to bubble up and explode at any time. And this is another reason why cryptocurrencies are so incredible. You get the right one and you are, again, on the ground floor of what's going to take over once all those markets come crashing down. And I think that this is the future. So again, thank you very much for talking with us, Stephen. I'm sure we'll talk in the near future. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and Stephen Kendal signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Now to sound like an auctioneer. Thanks for watching, everyone. Check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so vastly demonetized and censored by YouTube as they bring in the Anti-Defamation League to flag all of our content as hate speech. Also check our Bitcoin address in the description in the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And don't forget to check me out at Josh Sigurdson at steemit.com. That's steemit.com, the future of social media, where you get paid via cryptocurrencies, Steem that is, by the upvote and demand of your post. It's bound to take out the dinosaur social media, so I hope to see you there. But until next time, check out this word from our sponsor.
Are you looking to exchange a large amount of US dollars? Don't overpay with the bank on currency exchange. Think outside the bank. Banks charge unnecessary fees of up to 3%. Truth be told, currency exchange with the bank will cost you hundreds to thousands of dollars. Start saving now. Step 1. Register online. Visit our website and click Get Started. Step 2. Book a transaction. Phone us for a quote and to complete the transaction. We'll need to know which currencies you are converting and how much. Step 3. Transfer of funds. Once you confirm the transaction, we initiate an electronic funds transfer from the account that you choose. Your purchased funds are then transferred back to you in the account that you choose within 1 business day. It's that easy. Start saving hundreds of dollars on currency exchange with CBCE. Sign up online or give us a call today.